Hello, and welcome to the first of many tutorials on Microsoft Excel spreadsheets. Now, there are many different programs that you can use to create a spreadsheet, but we're just going to focus on Microsoft Excel. I am using the 2010 version, which came with my Microsoft Office 2010 suite. You can use an older version of Microsoft Excel, but some of the icons may be in a different spot. But for the most part, it should all be fairly similar. Alright, the first thing you need to know about Microsoft Excel is it's set up as columns and rows. The whole thing is a workbook, and on the bottom you have different worksheets. Now you can do different things on worksheets. So for example, if you wanted to set up things for January, you could type January here, February here, March, and continue on. We're just going to focus with one sheet today. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and start on C5. You can start anywhere that you would like. And let's pretend that we're going to do a budget. I'm going to write January. And to move to the next column, if you're going to the right, you can do a couple things. You can either click on it with your mouse, or you can tab over. It's up to you. For now, to save time, let's just do 3 months. Now, let's make a column of our bills. Let's say we have a cable bill, and now to go down, you can hit enter. Let's do an electric bill, and let's do miscellaneous. Now I'm sure that you have way more bills than 3, but again, to save time, we're just going to stick with 3 for now. Alright, let's say in January our cable bill was $123. Now, chances are your cable bill is probably the same every month, so we'll go ahead and keep it the same. Let's say our electric bill in January was $280. In February it was $320, and in March it was $250. Now, miscellaneous expenses could be things like gas, or maybe you bought a new pair of shoes, something along those lines. Let's say we spent $155 in January, $200 in February, and then we were really good and only spent $80 in March. Alright, so we have our amounts entered, but now we'd like to know how much the total for those are. So let's create a total column. Now the nice thing with Excel is that it has formulas built in so that we don't have to sit here and add these up on our own. So what we can do is highlight what we want. Now how we do that is click on the first cell with your left click mouse button, and then slide over with the button still held down through all of the cells that you would like to add together. So then we can come up here to the AutoSum. It looks like a sigma sign. You can click AutoSum and it'll total them up for you. So our cable bill for January, February, and March totaled $369 of our hard-earned money. Now there's a couple different ways that we can add up the other columns. We can do the same thing that we just did by highlighting and then going to AutoSum, or since we've already put in the formula, we can actually right click on this box. We can copy, hover over the box that's flashing. You'll see the border so that you know that you've copied it. Left click and then drag down and highlight the boxes that you'd like the same formula in. Now when we right click, we have a bunch of paste options. We have just regular paste. We have values, which would put the same number on all of the boxes. We have formula, which is what we're going to copy. You can transpose, format, or paste a link. Like I said, we're just going to copy the formula. So now it totaled up all of our columns for us. Let's also put a total column here so that we can see how much we've spent each month instead of just the total year. You can do the same thing that you did before. Go up to AutoSum. And we can, again, right-click, copy. Make sure we're hovered over the box that's blinking. Drag over. Right-click again while we're inside that box still. And click on Formula. Alright, so now what we can do is go ahead and let's put our income in so we know how much we've made. Let's say that we make $1,500 a month, and that stays pretty regular. Then let's make a column called savings. Now what this column is going to be is how much we have left over after we've paid our bills. So I showed you how to do the AutoSum, and there are many other formulas you can do by coming up here and clicking on the Formula tab, and it'll show you all kinds of different things. But for now, we're just going to stay on our home page, and I'll show you how to manually enter a formula. So as we can see, our income for January is in C11, and the total that we've spent in January is in C9. So what we're going to do down here is put in a formula that's going to subtract what we've spent from how much money we have. So you start that out by hitting the equal sign, and then the cell that you want to start with, so we're going to do C11, and then minus C9, and hit enter, and that tells us that after we've paid our bills, we have $942 left over. Now again, chances are you probably might make more money than $1,500 in a month, and chances are you have a lot more bills, but just as an example, this will do. And we can do the same thing and copy the formula. So this tells us how much money we have left for each month. So February we had an extra $857. In March we had an extra $1,047. And for a total for January through March, we had $2,846 left over. So that's a pretty good amount for savings. Now at this point, things don't look very pretty. I'd like them to look a little bit better. So the first thing I like to do is put a border around them, because right now if we were to print, there'd be nothing around, it'd just be the words and the numbers. These grids wouldn't actually show up. So I like to make sure that the grid is there. So what you do is you start on the left corner, left click, drag your mouse over everything that you would like a border around. Then you come up here, and there's different kinds of borders. You can just do one around the whole thing, but I prefer to have the lines in between too. So I click all borders. Now when you do that, you can actually change the color and the style. It's up to you. I'm going to leave it in default. There. Now we have lines around. Let's say we want to make our titles a little bit bigger. You can highlight them all to save time. I'm going to go ahead and bold them. You can change the font by clicking on this arrow. I'll go ahead and change it to Arial. And you can change the size. Let's go ahead and change it to 16.
A message has been received.
Now, if you noticed, now that we made it bigger, you can't see the whole word. There's a couple different ways that we can fix that. We can click Format over here, and we can auto-fit the column width. So let's go ahead and try that. And now we can see all of the words. Another thing that we could have done was, let's say we want our total box to be a little bit bigger. If you come up to the top and you hover between two cells, you'll get some arrows. If you left click, then you can drag the column and make it bigger. You can also, while they're highlighted here, you can center the words if you would like to by clicking on center, or you can left align them or right align them. Let's go ahead and center them. And then we'll do the same thing here. Bold, 16. So we'll change it to Arial like the other column, just to keep everything together. And like I said, you can make it bigger by going like this. Alright, now that that is done, it's still kind of bland and I still have a hard time finding my total. So what I'd like to do is highlight the totals so that I know what they are. So if you left click and drag over, you can actually paint in the background. So if you hit the little arrow by the bucket, you can pick which color you would like. I'd like to highlight it in yellow. So click yellow, and now that total box will be highlighted. I'll do the same thing with this total. If the color that you'd like is already selected, you don't have to go to the arrow, you can just click on the bucket. Since I want yellow still, I can click on the bucket. I'm going to go ahead and highlight my income as well, but I'm going to change colors. We'll go with green. And then how much money we have left over, I'd like to highlight that as well. And we'll go with purple. Alright, now one last thing that we should do is give our spreadsheet a title. So let's go ahead and say alright, expenses / budget for 2013. Alright, now the problem with this currently is that our words are all in C3, but they're taking over some of the space of D3. If we were to print it, it would actually only print this part in the box, so it would cut off the rest of budget for in 2013. So we want to make sure that that shows up. So what we can do to make that show up is click the cells that we would like, and then we can right click, hit format cells, and there's a lot of different options you can do here. What we're going to do is merge cells. So click on merge cell under alignment tab, click OK. Now those two cells merge together. So the nice thing about that is it allows us to still read our title, but it doesn't mess up any of our other columns. Because if we were to just make the title and then try to move C over, it would mess up our other rows, and we don't want to do that. Alright, the final thing that we're going to do today is change these to dollars, because we know that it's money, but it's best to have it in the actual format that it should be. So let's highlight everything that should be dollars. Now there's a couple different ways you can do this. You can right click, and when you go into format cells, under number, you can go to currency, and you can set up currency here. You can have it be the $, and you can even set the decimal places. So you could do 3, 4, however many decimal places you would like. But what I'm going to do is do it another way. So while everything is still highlighted, I'm going to come up here where the $sign is. Now if you click on the arrow, it shows United States money, UK, Euros, Chinese, French. We're just going to stick with the English United States version of money. Click on the $sign, and it'll change all of your totals to dollars and cents, which is a little bit easier to read as far as money goes. Now, let's say, for example, that our electric bill was actually $380 and not $280. We can just click on it and change it. Now it'll automatically change it to dollars. Our totals will change as well. This total will change, this total will change, and this total will change. So it's easy to correct a mistake if you have to go back. Anyway, that is it for our first tutorial. We've talked about columns, rows, cells, how to make them wider, how to change the numbers into dollars, how to use AutoSum, how to manually enter in a formula, how to change our font size, and how to put an outline over the whole thing. We actually even slipped in how to merge two columns together. So please like, comment, and subscribe. Leave any questions below and I'll try to answer them as quickly as possible, and stay tuned for further tutorials. Thanks and have a great day.